To the proud people of Burkina Faso, today we make history not as dependents but as producers. For the first time, our land feeds not just Africa but the world. 2 million tons of soybeans, also cultivated by our farmers, will now nourish Saudi Arabia. This is not just trade, it is sovereignty, it is dignity, and it is only the beginning.
This is the new Africa Files, the voice of Africa's awakening, where power meets pride and stories reshape the continent. Today, we bring you a historic revelation, a seismic shift in Africa's economic and agricultural future. Burkina Faso, a nation once marginalized by the global economy, has just pulled off what no other African country has done before. In a bold and unapologetic stride, Burkina Faso becomes the first country in Africa to sign a 2 million ton soybean export agreement with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Yes, 2 million tons of high-quality Burkina-grown soybeans are heading straight to the Middle East. This isn't aid. This isn't a donation. This is trade on Burkina Faso's terms. This is power. And this isn't just about soybeans. It's about what they symbolize: food independence, agricultural dominance, and Africa's refusal to be seen as a continent of poverty and dependence. The world is watching. But for once, Africa is not asking, it is delivering. Today on this channel, we take you deep inside this revolutionary agreement, what it means for Burkina Faso, what it signals for the Sahel region, and how Saudi Arabia's interest in African-grown food is rewriting the rules of global food security. Stay with us, because this is not just news. This is history in the making. Burkina Faso, a land once synonymous with drought, hardship, and food insecurity, is now rewriting its destiny through bold leadership, strategic planning, and massive investment in agriculture. Over the past 2 years, under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the nation has launched an aggressive campaign to revive and transform its agricultural sector through initiatives like the National Food Sovereignty Program. Over 1.5 million hectares of land have been repurposed for high-value crops such as millet, maize, sorghum, and most importantly, soybeans. Soybean, often called green gold, is in high demand globally due to its versatility used in food production, oil processing, animal feed, and even renewable biofuels. And Burkina Faso has tapped into this global demand not just to feed itself, but to export powerfully. Traoré's administration didn't wait for permission from international donors or multinational agribusinesses. Instead, it mobilized local farmers, introduced state-backed cooperatives, and provided subsidized seeds, fertilizer, and water solutions to scale up soybean production. Today, the numbers speak for themselves. Over 2.3 million metric tons of soybeans harvested in just one season, with 2 million of those now under contract to be shipped to Saudi Arabia. This is no accident. It's a master plan. In Riyadh, where food security has become a top priority for the oil-rich kingdom, eyes turned to Africa, and Burkina Faso stood ready. Saudi Arabia has been exploring strategic partnerships with African nations to secure stable sources of food imports, especially amid climate volatility and global supply chain disruptions. This deal between Burkina Faso and Saudi Arabia is not a donation. It's a $2.66 billion export agreement funded by Saudi agricultural investment institutions and backed by Burkina Faso's Ministry of Agriculture and Trade. Saudi Arabia will receive non-GMO high-quality soybeans grown with sustainable farming practices. In return, Burkina Faso gains guaranteed market access for the next 5 years, agricultural technology transfer, on-ground processing support and refinery partnerships, infrastructure investment in roads, silos, and rail to enhance export logistics. This isn't just about crops. It's about geoeconomic leverage. Burkina Faso is now no longer just growing food. It's exporting sovereignty and planting the seeds of a new continental trade identity. Let's bring this story home to the thousands of farmers across Bobo Deso, Kédougou, and Ouagadougou's outskirts who once struggled to grow enough to eat. With the new government incentives, those same farmers now belong to state-certified soybean cooperatives. These co-ops are guaranteed a minimum price per ton, often 3 times higher than what they would earn in local markets. Villages that once relied on food aid are now building schools, clinics, and clean water systems, all financed through soybean revenue. Women-led farming groups, once sidelined, now form 40% of all soybean production unions. Young people, once fleeing to cities or overseas, are now returning to the farms with pride. This deal doesn't just put money into government coffers. It puts dignity back into the hands of everyday, kind people. This isn't just about Burkina Faso. This is about the Sahel bloc, the emerging alliance of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. 3 nations shedding foreign control and building independent economic systems. Burkina Faso's soybean deal is just the beginning. Already Niger is exploring rice exports and Mali is targeting livestock and grain markets across Asia and the Middle East. Together, these nations are saying, Africa will not be a warehouse of raw resources anymore. We will process, package, and export with pride. As Europe and the West tighten their control and scrutiny over African exports, the East, and particularly the Arab world, is opening its doors to partnerships based on mutual gain. This soybean deal is a message to all of Africa. You don't have to wait. You can build your own path. The world didn't see this coming. Media outlets in Europe labeled the agreement unexpected. Global agricultural analysts have been caught off guard by how fast Burkina Faso scaled up production. Western governments long used to dictating Africa's trade terms are watching with growing unease. China has already sent delegations to study Burkina Faso's cooperative model. India has expressed interest in a similar soybean partnership. Brazil, a soybean giant itself, has offered to train Burkinabe agronomists on advanced soil management. But perhaps the biggest reaction has come from other African nations, Ghana, Togo, and Chad, all now expressing interest in joining a soybean export corridor under Burkina Faso leadership. Africa 5 News can confirm that negotiations are underway to expand rail lines and port access through Ghana for soybean exports, further integrating the region into a powerful agroeconomic bloc. Let's be clear, the journey ahead is not without obstacles. Climate change continues to threaten yields. There are still gaps in infrastructure, particularly in cold storage and transport logistics. An international competition, especially from the U.S., Brazil, and Argentina, will intensify as Burkina Faso enters the big leagues. But Troy government has already unveiled Phase 2 of the plan, a soybean oil refinery plant in Kédougou to process locally a biofuel research hub in Ouagadougou in partnership with Indian and Saudi engineers, and the launch of Africa's first soybean export bank to finance co-ops across the Sahel region. This is not a one-time win. This is a strategy for generational wealth. This deal is more than agriculture. It is a signal that Africa is creating its own economic playbook, one where raw materials are no longer shipped out in bulk for scraps, but processed, packaged, and priced by Africans themselves. It also signals a break from dependency. While the IMF and World Bank push austerity and loans, Burkina Faso is writing new chapters with deals based on commodities, equity, and dignity. This channel believes that this moment is a warning and a hope to African nations. Unite, produce, and trade smart to global powers. Africa is not asleep. It is rising. Burkina Faso has done what many said was impossible. It has turned its soil into gold. Not the kind that is dug from the ground and stolen, but the kind that is grown by the hands of its people and shipped across the seas in its own name. From local farmers to international contracts, from desert lands to global headlines, Burkina Faso is proving that African countries can rise, lead, and trade as equals. Here at the African New Files, we salute this bold chapter in African history, and we promise to keep bringing you the real stories, the powerful moves, and the game-changing shifts reshaping our continent one harvest at a time. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel because this is not just media. This is Africa's.